Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. This is Maro. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about Alaska. As you are all aware, World of Warships announced that in addition to Thunderer, Georgia, Massachusetts, and Smaland, Alaska will also no longer be available to obtain. The reason given for all 5 ships is their popularity and battle performance. So far in this series, I've had a chance to take a look at Thunderer, and you can see that video here. Today I wanted to cover the US Tier 9 Premium Cruiser Alaska. Alaska was introduced into the World of Warships as part of the 8.1 update back in February 2019 and is available for 1 million free XP. What I plan to do here is very similar to what I did already in my Thunderer and Georgia videos. I want to see how well does the explanation or the reason given that the ship is being taken out of armory is actually supported by data. So the first reason that was given was the ship's popularity, and the second one was the ship's battle performance. So in order to assess the popularity of the ship, I'll be looking at North American server data from the Maple Syrup World of Warships site, and then I will also aggregate the data on the global basis. So to judge popularity, I will take a look at the number of players that played the ship in the most recent third quarter, and also how many battles did these players fight in this ship. And in order to assess the battle performance, I'm going to take a look at the winning percentage on the North American server and on the global aggregate basis, as well as the average damage. Also, given the fact that Alaska actually has 2 editions of the ship in World of Warships, the regular Alaska and the Black Friday Alaska, I've aggregated the stats for both ships under one ship and labeled it Alaska Plus. Now the individual stats were not really that different in terms of winning percentage and average damage, but I just thought it would be easier if all the numbers are just under one label. So with all of that behind us, let's get into the numbers. So the first is the North American server third quarter 2020 Tier 9 cruiser by players, and Alaska Plus, highlighted in red. 17,174 players played the ship on the North American server, and that's way ahead of all other Tier 9 cruisers. I mean, the second one is Buffalo. I mean, that's almost like, half the number, followed by Donskoy, Seattle, and so on. I guess in terms of other premium ships, the next one after Alaska is Ager, just under 5,000. And Ager was released relatively recently in June 2020. So that clearly speaks to the popularity of the ship, because it seems that quite a few players have already acquired her. And then you have Kronstadt, which is already out of the game. Azuma, which I think is proving to be quite unpopular with the player base, because Azuma was released into the game just 2 months after Alaska, back in April 2019, and only a few players have actually decided to get her. Moving on, in terms of number of battles, Alaska is again on top with almost 229,000 games. She's followed by Riga, Buffalo, and Donskoy. The Russian cruiser event caused a lot of players to play the Russian cruisers. So far from what we have seen, we can definitely conclude that Alaska is a very popular Tier 9 cruiser, and that World of Warship's stated reason for withdrawing the ship is very valid. On global aggregate basis, Alaska still keeps the lead, 73,000, closely followed by Donskoy, Rune, and Riga again. At the bottom is Siegfried, but looking at Azuma, I guess it's played a little more, relatively speaking, on other servers. So while on the North American server, I think it was the third from the bottom, now it's fifth from the bottom. Not a great showing, but still somewhat better than on the North American server. Looking at the number of battles on the global aggregate basis, Alaska again in the lead. Not a huge lead, but still on top. So across the region, on the global aggregate basis, by players and by the number of battles, Alaska is firmly in the lead. So the ship indeed is very popular. It's played by a lot of players across many battles globally. And I think it's very telling when you compare her performance to Azuma's performance. It's night and day, although they're only separated by 2 months in terms of when they were introduced in the game. Moving on to the win percentage data for the North American server, Alaska comes in the third place. What's interesting here is that Azuma is right behind Alaska in terms of win percentage, 51-65. Aegir, which was recently added to the game, is about the same as Azuma. So while Azuma was not as popular as Alaska, in terms of performance, it's relatively close to Alaska. And that I think may speak to the utility of the ship to the team and maybe just how the players see the cruiser given the tier 10. Shino was released not long after. On global basis, Alaska's win percentage remains largely the same. She comes in third. However, the ships behind her change. So Aegir is now in number 4 slot, not Azuma. Actually, Azuma is a couple steps down. And I wonder if her popularity on other servers have caused more players to obtain her who don't necessarily can get the maximum out of her. Let's take a look at the average damage levels on the North American server. And here, Alaska is now in the 4th place. So that's a 1 step down from the win percentage, which effectively tells me that this ship has other utility to the teams and it helps teams win, besides just inflicting raw damage. And that can be because of the consumables, the threat, and so on. And the ship that bumped Alaska to the 4th place is no other than Azuma, which comes in the 2nd place in terms of damage. So that's a very interesting dynamic, the disparity between the winning percentage and the average damage that the ship does. On the global basis, the outcome is still the same. Alaska again in the 4th spot and Azuma 2nd, which again, very interesting indeed. So there you have it. World of Warships is correct in saying that A, this ship is very popular, and B, it has a very good battle performance. It's actually a little amazing to see just how well Alaska has done, how many players have chosen to acquire her, play her, and do well in her. So certainly speaks well of the ship, and I guess World of Warship introducing her into the game. It's also very interesting to see that Azuma has this disconnect between win percentage and the average damage. And I guess if I had to guess, the primary reason for this, it would probably be the nature of damage that the ship inflicts, HE damage from long distance, where yes, you cause damage to the enemy ships, but you're not necessarily as relevant to the game itself. Another thing that I think it's worth mentioning here is premium ships dominate the performance. In most cases, the top 3 or 4 ships are all premium ships. The Tech 3 ships are usually behind them. And I have somewhat of mixed feelings about that. I don't think it's right that the player should really, buy a ship to do well in a category. And it would appear that, and I'm sure there are arguments that can be put together why that's the case, but it would appear that the premium ships do better by a large number of players, which would suggest to me that the ships themselves are better, and it's not necessarily the subset of players who have these ships. Now, especially in Alaska's case, it's the most played ship. So more people play Alaska than any other Tier 9 cruiser, and yet they do, on average, better than any Tech 3 ship in that tier. That does not sound right. I think if you watch my other videos, I think you will see similar patterns. And, I know the World of Warship spends a lot of time trying to balance the game, but this just does not sound right that the premium ships dominate the order. So I guess another thing worth highlighting is Azuma and the fact that the ship is not nearly as popular as Alaska, although it was introduced only 2 months after Alaska. And then again, that could, there could be a lot of reasons for that. One is, what does it bring to the table? How effective it is? The type of play that the ship encourages? Or maybe other ships, like in case of Azuma, Yoshino, that just steal her thunder. And thinking now that Alaska is going to be out of the game, starting with the update 10.1, which ship is most likely to actually inherit Alaska's appeal? And from the limited data that I saw so far, it really appears that Ager is in the best place to do that. The ship performs well. It seems that quite a lot of players have already acquired her. And I guess she will be the next ship that siphons the excess free experience in the game. Now, that's not to say that there may not be another ship that's added for free XP. I'm sure there will be additional ships that may prove to be more popular. But in this case here, if you already have Alaska and you're just wondering, well, is there another Tier 9 cruiser that I may want to acquire for my port? Ager appears to be it in this category, at least. So, if you already don't have Alaska, do get her. She's a strong ship, good ship, fun ship, solid ship. So please add her to your port if you can. If not, I think Ager may not be a bad ship to add at a later time. Even the playstyle and what the ships can do is different. Or there may be another ship again that you may be able to use your free XP on. This is all I have to say on Alaska. So far, I've done Thunderer, Georgia, and obviously Alaska. I will do Massachusetts, and then Smaland is the only one that's left, and I'm not really sure if I'll be able to get to her because A, I don't have her, and B, I am not really sure if I want to use 2 million free XP on her. So I may just do a mini kind of data video on Smaland. So if you've liked the video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe. I wish you the best of luck on the high seas. Maro, out.